Author of the new book, American Conspiracies, Lies, Lies, and More Dirty Lies That the Government Tells Us. Also the host of Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura on True TV. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, great to be here.
How did you get into conspiracies to begin with?
Well, it started for me when wrestling actually changed. In the mid-'80s, we went from regional and driving in cars to going across the country, which meant that some months I'd spend 24 days in an airport.
Right.
And anybody that's ever flown a great deal realizes how boring it is. You know, you sit in an airport, you sit on planes, and so I got into reading about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and I started getting every bit of material I could get on it and devouring it, and I probably have now for 25 years.
Well, you were governor of Minnesota, and I'll get to the conspiracies specifically that you address in your new book.
Sure.
Were you privy to any conspiracies that you haven't yet spoken out about that you eventually will?
No, not really. You know, you have to remember that the conspiracies that I deal with in the book are federal conspiracies. You know, they're conspiracies by the federal government, not a state government. And so when you govern a state, you're only privy really to what goes on in the state. And although I did state in this book and my previous book, Don't Start the Revolution, that I wanted the public to know that the CIA is embedded in all state government.
And that's not something that most people believe to be true.
Well, it goes against their mission statement. You know, their mission statement says they're only to be operational outside the United States. What are they doing? Now, and again, I'm taking a bit of a leap here because I don't know about the other 49 states. I can only state for Minnesota, but I cannot believe Minnesota's an exception.
I agree. I can't believe that it would be either.
Yeah. So that's the conclusion I drew from it.
In your book, the list of some of the conspiracy theories you cover include financial crisis, stolen elections in 2000 and 2004, the U.S. government's involvement with drugs, plans to end democracy, and I think most famously, or at least over the last few months that I've seen you talk about the most, is 9/11.
Well, that's a subject it seems you're not allowed to ask questions about. We were told what happened, and everyone seems to just accept what the government said and then accept what's told on mainstream soundbite news. And people that confront me with this, when I inquire as to how much research they've actually done on it, they admit nothing. All they know is what they've been told on television.
Well, I've looked into a little bit more, and again, I don't pretend to know all. I don't think anybody knows all the answers.
Absolutely not. Let me explain. When you do each one of these conspiracies, because they're all separate, it's a great deal like taking a jigsaw puzzle and throwing all the pieces on the floor. And each piece is a shred of evidence, and you start compiling these shreds of evidence. Now, can you complete the whole puzzle? Absolutely not. Can't be done.
In my experience,
but you can put enough of the puzzle together where you get a good idea of what the picture is.
In my experience on the show, talking to a lot of different people, I don't think the majority of those that I talk to have a problem agreeing with the fact that not everything is known. But then we get to some conspiracy theorists who actually say the Bush administration specifically knew and allowed and maybe even planned it for political reasons. Where on that spectrum do you fall?
I fall with what you just said. In the research that I've done, it clearly shows. See, you need to look at the 9/11 Commission. It was, first of all, it was stonewalled for 2 years, if you recall.
I do.
There was going to be no investigation in 9/11. They just told us what happened, but pressure by the families and that, they wanted the truth. Well, the 9/11 Commission was run right out of the White House. Zelikow, a guy named Zelikow, who's real close with Condoleezza Rice, he oversaw the whole thing. They didn't see one document from the NSA. And that's where Richard Clark comes from, if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, he's going to be actually on the show next week.
Okay, well, they didn't see one document from the NSA, and if you ask Mr. Clark, he'll tell you that they were warning as early as May. As early as May, they were and in fact, they thought they ramped up, expecting it to happen in July.
And the famous memo that went to Condoleezza Rice was in August, correct?
Exactly, where she stood out there and looked at the committee and said, we had no idea they would take planes and fly them into buildings. Well, that August 6th memo, that's exactly what it said. What, did she not read it? Why didn't she just admit she didn't read it?
What do you think was what did the Bush administration stand to gain from this involvement or allowing this to happen?
Well, money and wars. People need to understand that there's great profiteers at war. Whenever a country goes to war, there's a certain minority of people that prosper greatly from it. Look at Halliburton. What is Halliburton worth today compared to what it was worth prior to 9/11? Not even close. And who owns huge shares and was the head of Halliburton? Dick Cheney.
I've done some reading on secrets and government secrets in general, and from what I've read, there seems to be somewhat of a consensus that if more than 3 people know about anything, it becomes very difficult to ensure it stays quiet. And if I understand, what you're suggesting for 9/11 implies much more than 3 people. How have we not...
Not necessarily.
So it could have all been a 3-person conspiracy.
Well, you don't know exactly how many, but people need to understand that government is very compartmentalized. In other words, many people don't, in government, the majority of people, when they're assigned a job to do something, they don't know what the big picture is. They're just told, okay, work on this. And they have no idea. So it really, I've had people say that to me too. Oh, somebody would talk.
That's my thought. Somebody must talk.
But wait a minute. Who is going to come forward and admit to participating in mass murder? Even if you do know you were part of it, you do know it was if it was planned or let happen or anything like that. Who is going to come forward and say, "Oh yeah, I was part of allowing that to happen. Arrest me"? So
you're saying that the stakes are so high for whichever individual is first to come forward that that potentially they could keep it all under wraps.
Absolutely. Well, I'll give you an example. You remember the arms for hostages back in the mid-'80s?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I had a good friend that stayed in the Navy and was attached at the time. He was a teammate of mine when I was in, and of course I got out after 6 years, but he made a career of it. And he ended up on the Elite SEAL Team 6, which is Dick Marcinko's anti-terrorist unit. And he was sitting home in his living room when Arms for Hostages broke on TV, and he kind of perked up and he went, "Oh my God, I was part of that." He didn't know what he was given an assignment to do something. That's all he knows. Very few people ever know the full big picture.
Will we ever know the big picture with 9/11?
I don't know. All I know is that there's more people speaking out. I watched Larry King last night, and Willie Nelson has come out and said he don't believe it. And who's more all-American than Willie Nelson?
Well, to say, I don't know that I would take political advice from him either, though.
Well, I wouldn't, but he's still a citizen, and he's still a free-thinking individual with common sense. But the other thing to look at, how could those buildings get pulverized to powder?
Yeah, that's the thing. I've done some research into that, and again, I'm no engineer. I'm
not either.
I've heard the statements that you've made. I've looked up the information you've cited, and it does exist. And at the same time, there is other evidence that suggests because jet fuel burns so hot that it is possible.
No, it does not.
That's not true?
Jet fuel is the majority of the fuel is kerosene. It's a kerosene mixture. Kerosene is not hot. Propane's way hotter. And not only that, but the jet fuel's gone on impact. Those buildings stood for another hour. The jet fuel did not. It started the fires. But have you ever seen jet fuel survive impact? No. When a jet strikes something and explodes and crashes, that's what the big explosion is. That's all the fuel. The fuel doesn't survive. Like I've heard stories, the fuel ran down the elevator shafts. How? Come on, use some common sense. All the fuel's gone right at impact.
Is there one network or type of news outlet that's more likely to hide not only conspiracy theories, but news stories generally? For, it could be conflicts of interest, personal relationships. I mean, is it newspaper, radio, TV? Who do you think tries to cover up more?
I don't trust our mainstream media at all today. I don't believe when they tell me things. I believe they have an agenda. I believe they're controlled. You saw the example during Bush when he got caught paying off those reporters out of the White House.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on. If that's probably just the tip of the iceberg on what got caught there. And so, look what happened to me when I came out of office. I was the hottest commodity out there, and MSNBC, Fox, and CNN got in a bidding war for me. MSNBC won. You noticed I disappeared for 3 years?
I did.
Well, you know why?
No.
I was opposed to the Iraq War, and they wouldn't let me. MSNBC was not left-wing at that time. They were Fox Light.
This is the same thing that happened to Phil Donahue, is it not?
Exactly. Phil Donahue he was their highest-rated show, and he was taken off the air. Who's ever heard of a network doing that? And they wouldn't let me on because both Phil and I opposed the invasion of Iraq. And if you think back prior to that invasion, there wasn't one person on television questioning it, saying, what are we doing this for? Why are we going into Iraq? I mean, that's what made me first question 9/11. Initially, I was as stunned as everyone. I believed everything. And then when I just got out of office, when Bush announced we were going to invade Iraq, and I went, Iraq? The 19 hijackers, there wasn't one of them was Iraqi.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's like taking the attitude on Pearl Harbor. The Japanese attacked us at Pearl Harbor. Well, what the heck? Let's go invade Korea. After all, they're Asian too.
Which is the Iraq Osama bin Laden comparison that you're drawing.
Well, the point is, Saddam Hussein was no friend of Osama bin Laden. Saddam Hussein was very secular.
No, I agree. They
were enemies, in fact.
What are your thoughts?
And so what was the purpose of invading Iraq?
Specifically on Fox News as a source of news. I've seen you on the Sean Hannity show arguing with him. Is it entertainment and political opinion, or is it news? What
it's entertainment and political opinion completely.
That even in their hard news segment, so to speak.
Absolutely, because if you watch how they go with rumors, they go with all sorts of stuff, and well, they won't even let me on anymore.
So you have basically there's just a no invite policy with Jesse Ventura.
With the big what I call the Three Stooges.
CNN, MSNBC, Fox.
No, on Fox.
Oh, specifically.
I call that O'Reilly, Hannity, and Beck. Yeah, I call them the Three Stooges. Because if Hannity combed his hair straight down, he'd look like Mo. And if O'Reilly'd be Larry, and of course, take a look at Glenn Beck and Curly Howard. If they're not related, I don't know who is.
Hey, speaking of hair,
I'm having fun with you there.
I get the feeling you're perceived as more liberal now than when you were governor. I don't know if it's your long hair or what. Do you feel like you've become more progressive?
No, I've always been fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
And you don't
on all social policies, I'm as liberal as you can get. I don't care if there's gays in the military. In fact, I think that they should be invited to join. It's their country, too.
I agree.
I'm pro-choice. I'm very liberal on all social issues. I don't oppose gay marriage. I could care less about it. It doesn't affect my marriage. I'll be married 35 years this summer. How does it affect me if two gay people get married down the block?
Hey, I'm in Massachusetts. Believe me, I know that gay marriage has not changed my life in any way.
Anyway, in fact, if they want to outlaw something, outlaw divorce.
Right.
Try that. 50% of all marriages today end in divorce. Half.
More than 50%.
Well, whatever. I used 50, but yeah. You're right. I mean, when two people heteros say their vows, the odds are they won't be together to the end.
In the last minute we have here, you ran and won as an independent in Minnesota, and we heard years ago the Green Party is going to get their 5%, then they'll get federal funding, and away we go. That didn't happen. Now there's a lot of stock being put in these teabaggers, and I think they're going to help Democrats more than Republicans. What's your thought about the teabaggers?
Well, first of all, if you're going to be a third party, you have to be a centrist, like me.
And the Tea Party is not.
When the parties get the two nominations, they have to veer to the far right and veer to the far left in order to get their nomination. Well, it's the center that elects them. So as soon as they get the nomination, they start veering back to the center. Well, the way I won, I had the center occupied. They couldn't get back in. And that's how I defeated them, because most of us are all centrists. We don't belong to the far right or the far left. But I don't support third parties anymore.
But do
you know what I support now?
Yeah.
No parties.
Just candidates.
Yes. Because Jefferson, Adams, and George Washington warned us. They said the downfall of America would not come from the outside, it would come from within, and Adams even told us what it would be. He said it'll be the day that political parties take over the government. And that's what you have today. These two parties do not vote for the country first. Look how they vote. They vote their party first. It's the Party line first, the country second. What we need to work towards in this country is abolishing all political parties.
We've been speaking...
Good luck, but because they make the rules. But to me, it isn't about a third party anymore. It's about getting rid of the two that we have.
We've been speaking with former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura, author of the new book, American Conspiracies, Lies, Lies, and More Dirty Lies That the Government Tells Us. Thanks so much.
One thing I would like to make clear to your listeners also.
Yeah.
I don't let anyone challenge my patriotism, and I'll tell you why. My father was a World War II veteran. My mother was a World War II veteran. She was a nurse in North Africa. My brother and I are both Vietnam veterans, so every member of my immediate family served at a time of war.